I'm not going to lie, this episode kind of tug on my heartstrings a little bit. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin, I'm a geek and you are watching Kevin the Geek, and this is the review of Ted Lasso Season 1 Episode 4 entitled For the Children. Now if you are a new viewer, welcome to the channel. Please do consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. If you're returning, then welcome back. Now this episode is an interesting one. The fact that Ted is in the episode a lot, but to be perfectly honest, he's not really the focus of the story in this particular episode. He is more of a supporting character, really, because this episode focuses on some of the more supporting characters. It focuses on Rebecca, and it also introduces her ex-husband, Rupert, who is played by the wonderful Anthony Head. Then you have the sort of triangle relationship between Roy, Jamie, and Keeley. And then finally you have the relationship of Nate compared with a little bit of the rest of the team, a little bit Roy, but predominantly also himself and maybe a little bit of his relationship with Ted. Now, starting off with Rebecca in this episode, this is the first episode where you actually see that she's quite a vulnerable character. And everything that she has shown in the series so far is very much a front. Because she is always having to be so strong, so determined, so ruthless. Partially because she wants to be a successful businesswoman. But also the environment in which she is in is very much a male-dominated environment. And she has to work a little bit harder to not only be noticed, but also respected. But this is the episode where you actually start to see maybe some of the reasons why she's being so tough on Ted and the team and really wants to destroy it. Now, Anthony Head is an amazing actor, and I don't think you could have chosen a better person, because Rupert, as a character, is very core, is very charming and suave, which Anthony Head is just brilliant, but he's also so good at being ruthless. And I'll talk about this a little bit in my upcoming Doctor Who review episode in which he also featured. He's very good at playing a bit of a manipulative character. And he is so good at making those little digs that some people could misinterpret it as him literally being nice. But Ted sees through him, and he says that to Rebecca towards the end of the episode. He says, like, I know not everyone is going to know or be able to see what he's really like, but I notice, and I'm here for you, and I am here to support you. And that's really fantastic to see. That Ted could have easily been written as he would be oblivious to Rupert, but he's very smart. And it shows, again, similar to the previous episodes, he is very good at sussing out people. And also, Rebecca starts to develop a friendship with Keeley. But this is where they start to have a proper one-to-one conversation, and Rebecca responds to her and begins to open up ever so slightly and feels maybe not necessarily comfortable, but a little bit more open to sharing some of her feelings towards Keeley, and actually quite likes Keeley to the point that she tells her about this other girl that Jamie has brought with him to the event, to the gala. Seeing how Rebecca got really upset with Rupert really shows that she is a human character and everything she does is a front. And I liked seeing that vulnerable side to her, which so far you've not really seen anything with. It just shows that she actually does have a heart, which to this point she's just been very cold. And if they'd continued on with her just in the same manner, I would have really started to actively dislike her as a character. But now, this is a point that I think for a lot of people, their perceptions begin to change. Now, as for Roy, Keeley and Jamie, so Ted really wants for Roy and Jamie to sort out their differences. And I think what I loved is it showed how separate they are as two individuals, but then also how much it's affecting the team right at the start of the episode. I mean, Jamie is an absolute disgusting human being with what he says to Sam at the start when they come in at halftime during a match, and he says this to Sam.
Would it be too forward if I gave you some advice that might help improve your game a bit?
No, please, anything.
What you need to do is get yourself a time machine, go back to the moment when your mum was about to fuck a sad little man with no athletic talent, pull her off him, fly her to Argentina, and drop her onto Maradona's cock.
And I can absolutely understand why Roy then goes off with as much anger as he does, because there's absolutely no need to do anything like that. You can give constructive criticism to somebody, but that is just abusive, and that is disgusting. And then later down the line, of course, they go to the gala. Ted organises it so that they sit at the same table because he wants them to air their differences. And there is this whole backwards and forwards throughout the episode. But eventually they do have this conversation. And I liked, again, the human side that they put into it. The reason that Roy dislikes Jamie is because he is so talented. He literally thinks he is the best thing since sliced bread. And he doesn't like him showing off because he's so selfish as a person. He just wants him to be a little bit more humble and a little bit more of a united front. But Jamie really used to idolise Roy. When Jamie was a child and Roy was, of course, more towards the start of his career, he loved him as a player. But of course, he never got to see him as a person because he could only see what was seen on TV or in the stands or whatever. And so, for Jamie, it's a bit of a shock when his hero is maybe not quite the person that he thought he was. And because he's getting on at him, all this stuff, it's made him start to resent him. And that's a shame. But Jamie's still so selfish, he can't quite open up and just bury the hatchet and take on board the constructive criticism that Roy and Ted and everybody else is trying to give him. He's so focused on himself and his brand, his image, to the point that, of course, he brings someone to the gala to bid on him and make it more of a situation that he looks more valuable, because that's all he's interested in. Because his relationship with Keeley is basically just built on carnal desires. It's literally built on sex. It shows in the scene where Keeley and Jamie are getting ready, and Jamie doesn't like the way he looks with a suit and tie and everything, and so he decides to go with his version of fashion and basically go with a jacket without a top underneath to show off his body. And then, of course, Keeley suggests that he, gives her some attention downstairs. There's no conversations, there's no discussions, there's really nothing between them other than the sex part of it. And because Jamie is so selfish and only focuses on himself, Keeley very rightfully decides to end it with Jamie. And as well, because Jamie can't take accountability for his actions, he doesn't understand what he has done wrong. Whereas Roy very rightly goes to Keeley at the end of the gala after Keeley's done some bidding on Roy, basically to make Jamie jealous because she wants more from him. She wants more attention, but Jamie won't give it to her. And this is just beginning to sow the seeds of the future relationship between Roy and Keeley. And I like them as a pairing. Finally, with Nate, it's a situation that he's still just so invisible as a person. And that really shows to the point that when Ted says he's going to bring Nathan as his +1 to the gala, Rebecca shouts back out the window, "Who?" And then later, when they're actually at the gala, Rebecca says, "Nice to meet you," to this employee who's worked for the club for such a long period of time. She literally does not know who he is. And that's a real important thing, I think, for Nate, because until Ted has come along, he is literally an invisible person. And Ted buys him a suit because he doesn't have a suit of his own. And this is the point I think that Nathan is going to start to get noticed more. I mean, Keeley mentions it in the table and says that he has a nice suit. And Nathan is also now starting to try and look to other people in power to try to emulate them, to see how they become noticed and how he can sort of replicate them. And you see that in Nathan's response to Keeley, where he tries to imitate the joke that Ted made, but unfortunately gets it completely wrong. But that shows he's trying to make an effort to be more noticeable. And he has that little moment with the girl behind the bar. He gets a drink and she just kind of looks at him sideways and he kind of smiles back. The suit is just giving them that little bit of confidence. But it still shows that how low he is in the pecking order and everything, that when Isaac and Colin are behind him, he still feels he has to say, "Look, come on guys, I'm wearing a new suit. Would you mind not picking on me today? Can you do it tomorrow?" Like, he knows it's going to happen. And he just wants to get it over and done with on a day that he doesn't spoil his new outfit. And it's a shame that it has to feel that way. And then you have right towards the end of the episode, when everyone is up and dancing, you see him sat at the table. He's not joining in because he doesn't quite feel comfortable enough to do that yet. But if you look, he's observing everyone and anyone around there, particularly looking for the people in the power. He's trying to assess how he can improve himself to be more noticeable, to be a better person and a stronger version of himself rather than the sort of timid character that he currently is. And that's an interesting thing. And again, you start to see this with more and more episodes as you go along, Nathan's journey. But what did you think of this episode? I loved it. I think it was fantastic. Drop a comment down below and let me know your thoughts. And do remember to subscribe if you are new. But for now, my name's Kevin. I am a geek, and you have been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.